Hello and
Not yet.
welcome
Not yet.
to another. Huh? What?
Now.
I hear someone talking. Is it the great beyond? Is it an abstraction of life? Hi, I'm Greg Cleghorn, and welcome to this edition, this pre-Super Bowl edition of Three Black Pratt Grads. I am Greg Cleghorn. This is my buddy Mark Skinner and my friend Kenneth Nelson, a photographer extraordinaire. And we are three black Pratt Institute grads. And well, that's kind of obvious, except the Pratt part. But Pratt Institute in Brooklyn, New York, we all graduated from the fine art photography department, and we've been shooting for decades, and we're still shooting. And we got together and we decided to have these little talks. It'd be nice if they were TED talks, but they're talks about photography, and we're doing a little thing here. So we've been going for going on 20 episodes, and check them out. Check the subscribe, ring the bell, so you get notifications. And today's topic came out of this thing up here: abstractions. Now, I said that photography is great for centuries. Oh, did you guys want to say anything? Do you want to say your hellos, Mark? Do you want to say no?
No,
Ken?
go ahead, Greg.
Okay, all right. And and yeah, so it's great because it renders, an image better and faster than a portrait photographer or a portrait artist, and it was brought down to the level of the common man. But with all the sharpness and the illusion of depth, it captures everything on a two-dimensional plane, which in itself is an abstraction. So I wanted to explore that, with the visual plane and the abstraction and such like that, and how you could push an image through the two-dimensional plane, but also through the sharpness and the creative uh, implementation. No, that's not the word. The creative medium of photography. So here we go. Let's go to the first one. To my first image. It's a kind of funny story behind this one. Boy, that's really big. What is that? Anyway, there was I was just kind of putting around town. Um, you might notice that. Remember that building from San Andreas? That's the one that fell. It was downtown LA, and I was going around, and I just loved the light. It was early in the morning, and I was taking pictures, and the security guards came out, and they're like, "Hey, you're acting suspiciously." I'm like, "What? I'm just taking pictures, dude." Yeah. Anyway, but I love the form and the light, and I'm not exactly sure what makes this abstract, but it seemed kind of abstract to me. What do you guys think? Is it abstract? It's a silhouette.
Well,
It's
I guess it's abstract in the sense that the silhouette and the shadow area of that building have pretty much the state. They occupy the same visual space in some way. They have the same weight.
Uh,
And think about the fact that it is a two-dimensional object that we are looking at. Yeah, I would. You could say it's an abstraction.
okay, so what does abstract mean to you guys?
okay. Uh, okay. Well,
Jump on in there, Nelson.
I'll jump on in there and let's just go to
Go to
this
what?
this if you could. This is
Oh no,
Wiki's
you did
version.
not get the definite. Oh.
Yes, I did. Abstract art. Okay, and okay. For those who are not versed in what abstract is, so would you like me to read what
Yes, yes,
says
please. Is
about
this
it? Okay.
Wikipedia? This
Yes,
tell
this
me
is
this isn't
Wiki.
Wikipedia.
And yeah, okay. So abstract art uses visual language of shape, form, color, and line to create a composition which may exist with a degree of independence from visual references in the world. Western art had been, from the Renaissance up to the middle of the 19th century, underpinned by the logic of perspective and an attempt to reproduce an illusion of visible reality. It goes on and on about that, but suffice to say, abstract art is non-figurative art, non-objective, non-representational, and so that's basically the gist of it.
Oh, that is so painful.
Yeah.
You got anything, Mark? Thanks, kid. That was good wiki, baby.
No, that works for me. I mean,
Yeah.
basically, I mean, what I was going to say is that, it's extraordinarily difficult for the lens to create an abstract image and still be considered an in focus photograph. I mean, so you're kind of working against
Really?
the medium.
Okay. All right, the next picture. It's difficult for the okay.
Okay.
Difficult for the lens to. Well, this is in focus.
Right, right.
Okay, I don't completely follow you,
Well,
but okay.
guess what I'm saying is that, in all honesty,
Uh-huh.
because the lens shows all of the detail,
Yeah,
if you're familiar with wherever that is,
you can identify it.
you
So you
can identify that it is a detail of a larger subject. And
got
so
it.
it's
So you're talking
shadow.
about like literal versus figurative and
Right. I mean,
okay.
photographs that are abstract are, very difficult. I would say it's very difficult to really get a sense of it being abstract. I mean, what we call abstract is when we use shapes and patterns, and the photograph tends to be all about the shape, the pattern, the color, the tonality, and things like that, and texture, rather than a painting, which would have absolutely no reference in many cases to the actual subject that we are
Right,
photographing.
like a Pollock or something with plate paint splatters and
Right, right, and
okay,
it's very
okay.
difficult. It's difficult to do that with a photograph because the lens delineates so well. So to me, the best we can get are these sort of shapes that don't necessarily convey anything in particular, or shapes that convey things that are other than what they actually are. And that's just for me. I don't know. I mean, there are probably others who've done very well with it, but for me, I find that a very challenging exercise to create abstractions in the photographic world.
Because it is so literal, the medium.
Right, it really is literal. Exactly.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Go to the next one, Ken. I mean, like these I did a series of these. What I liked was that although photography is literal, it does capture texture. It does capture patterns of light, and shadows are fun. I did a series with just shadows, but they kind of lend themselves to well, even abstract thought, where you look at it and you have to really go in and say, wait, what am I looking at here? Wait, that stipply, is that okay? That's stucco, and your mind is trying to grasp what you're looking at. So you go through this mental exercise of, the identification. But what I like about abstracts is that it just kind of lets the eye play in the image, and
Right.
you could kind of make it look or make it seem like almost anything. It doesn't have an up or down. It doesn't have a truism of reality, even though it is photographed with a device that almost demands reality. And
Right.
that
Like you'd mentioned, it's stucco, and it does look like stucco, and look like two different uh, panels of concrete butted up against the stucco butted up against one another, and it looks like the shadow of a palm tree, or maybe just a palm leaf at least. So I mean,
mm,
in the real world, we have depending on how familiar you are with that subject, uh, it looks like a really well composed detail of that subject.
mm, okay.
And believe me,
Or,
mine.
or it could be somebody with some really bad skin and a tattoo they regret.
Right. Well, I'm not singling your images out. It's just that yours are up first. I have the same exact issue for myself. When creating.
Bad skin and a bad tattoo.
Only in my abstract photos. But
Oh,
no,
okay.
really, the the idea that the lens delineates so well that unless I play tricks with focus or perspective. And that's the other thing. I didn't really do any perspective tricks in mine when we get to mine. There's a lot of the idea that there's this sort of flat composition that we're rearranging. So, like I said for me earlier, it just becomes mostly sketching.
What's wrong with sketching?
There's nothing wrong with it, but I don't think for me it's not as accessible as the idea of an abstract painting. The idea of, if you look at Piet Mondrian, you look at the primary
The
color,
famous squares.
right, famous squares that the Monopoly game is based on. If you're not familiar with art and it looks like Monopoly, that might be one thing, because Piet Mondrian was popular at the time the game was created. But if you've never seen the game and you just take a look at Piet Mondrian's paintings, you see these lines, you see these shapes, you see these colors, and they really are compositional exercises of where he's placed the red, the green, the red, the yellow, and the blue. Not so much green, red, yellow, and blue, and white.
But they're fun.
They're plenty of fun. He's one of my favorite painters.
Yeah. They always reminded me of stained glass windows. I love stained glass. But that's me. All right, moving right along. Go on to the next one. Let's see. Can you guys see these full frame? They're kind of cropped on my screen. Anyway. They're what?
That's full.
Okay. Yeah, this is out there in nature, I mean, it's in focus, but it's like, what the heck is it? What am I looking at here? And I like that I can capture that in photography and have it both be beautifully rendered and be completely WTF, and I kind of like that. I enjoy the colors in this. It just becomes an exploration of the eye, where you can just look at something and just enjoy just the colors and the shapes, and it's like it's just different for me, and it kind of takes me out of the literal of photography, which I really really like. Let's see, and the colors, man, this is just so bizarre to me, but it's fun. Okay, anything? Okay.
Well, I mean, if I could guess what it might be. You don't have to tell me if I'm right. Just tell me if I'm right or wrong. But
I probably won't, but go ahead.
I think it looks like a rusty tie from a dock that you would put a ship on.
A rusty tie from a dock. Okay. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
good
fair
guess,
enough.
though. Good guess, though. Huh?
Fair. Don't have to tell me what it is. I got it wrong. That's fine.
No, that's fine. That was a good guess, but that would be a special dock tie to be so colorful. They're usually just hunks of raw iron, like a chalk, right? Mm-hmm. Oh, well, Navy guy. Sorry. Yeah, but yeah, I do like the ocean. I do like the water, and I do like the things that happen when salt water touches stuff. But nope, that's not it. But it's okay. Good guess.
I don't want to.
What about the colors? What about just the sheer visual impact of it? Does that work for you, or your brain is still trying to figure out what it is?
Unfortunately, I've seen so many guess what this hyper close-up photo is on some social media that at this point, so many, you'll never guess what this is. I just feel that I'm going to see, this is, I could be completely wrong, but it looks like some point of rust and maybe a painted item that's rusty. So I don't really see them as the two-dimensional objects they're created to be. I see them as, like I said, a detail of a photo of a greater item.
Okay. So doesn't breaking something down to a detail abstract it?
Oh, I'm sure it does. It's just that for me,
you're just jaded about it. It doesn't work. Doesn't do anything for you.
But I would say that that way of examining an item, I'm very familiar with it. So for me, it's more about trying to either figure out what it is. It's hard for me to just say, "Well, just enjoy looking at the red in the rust and the little squiggles of yellow." It's very difficult to do that for me
Yeah.
in a photograph. If you had painted that, I would be amazed. I would, is it someone whipping their hair back and forth, or is it,
Thanks, Jada Pink.
in
Go
the,
ahead.
I mean, it gives you so many more opportunities to imagine.
I'll whip my hair back and forth. I'll whip my hair back and forth. Okay. Well, said the literal mind. Okay. Well, I mean, I could have thrown it in Photoshop and, made it into like a watercolor or something and then told some stories and you would never know, maybe. I don't. Yeah, I took up watercolor. Yeah, that's it. All right. Anything, Mr. Nelson? No? Okay.
Only that I can easily take it for what it's worth or what it is. I think the notion of someone being told that it's a photograph puts them into a mental mindset, which they have to figure it out. For me, it's not that necessary because I shoot, and again, we've all done abstracts, but I don't need to know what it is in reality. I will take it for what it's worth as it is.
To
And
enjoy it or
yes,
whatever.
and it doesn't escape me that it is something in reality, and there's a little bit of a question as to what it might be, but it's not the predominant question that I'm looking to answer.
Okay.
I'm just looking at it and say, oh, I wonder what that could be. But if I don't get the answer, I'm not worried about it.
Cool. Cool. Good. Okay. I like that. It's like, yeah, this is usually literal, but you know what? Some things I don't need to know. I like that. I like that. It's like looking up at the night sky and it's like, wonder what's going on out there. And you really don't want to be up there because it's
Well, it's
dark.
kind of funny because if you were to, and again, I just thought of this, if you were to take a photograph of a Jackson Pollock and put it next to a Jackson Pollock,
Uh,
right, what would be the dilemma?
as far as what? I mean, it's a shift in mediums. There would be a piece of a picture, piece of a piece of a abstract.
Right, it would be a photograph of an abstract, but a little
Uh-huh.
representation of the abstract. So is it the
Right.
photograph or is it the painting?
Okay. I
See,
see that.
I think with painting, there's such a broad range of acceptable renderings
Hmm.
that open to the idea that something can be completely abstract, all the way up to the hyper realism of someone like Chuck Close.
Hmm.
And so, because there's that range between the Mondrian and the Chuck Close, everything and everything in between, including collages and other things, we don't expect the kind of draftsmanship that a lens applies to an image. And with a photograph, Ken, I think you're absolutely right. Once you say that it's a photograph, at that point, we're now wondering, okay, it's a photograph. I, as a viewer of a photograph, expect to see something in focus. And
Hmm.
in information that is focused, I am tasked with trying to recognize
Yep.
something in it.
Yeah. Yep.
That's kind of rigid thinking in a way, but okay.
Well,
I mean, I can respect that.
well, it. I don't think it's rigid. I think it's automatic, and it's uncontrolled to some degree.
Okay, so I got a question. So, because you do a photographic abstract, do you think that that's a misnomer? I mean, is
No.
photography not capable of doing abstract?
I think it's
Because you
capable, but I
said
think
once it becomes a photograph, you're looking for identifiable things.
to do that. And I think as we become a more photo and cinematically savvy society, it will become more difficult as time goes on to use that tool, the tool of the lens, to do that.
To make abstracts?
I think so.
Okay.
Or abstracts that pass the test uh, uh, beyond, a small group.
What do you mean
I
by
think
that? A small
our
group? Small
literacy
group
is
of what?
I think our collective visual literacy is increasing dramatically with all of the social media that people consume, between the short video clips and the animations and the iconography and the photographs that all of us in the whole planet take and submit and review. I think our ability to recognize portions of items is much greater than it used to be. And we may not, but we kind of get a sense of what's going on.
Okay.
It could just be a geode too.
Yeah, and here I wouldn't get a sense of what's going on. I would just take it for what it's worth, at least visually what I'm seeing. Yeah, but I
Right,
understand
because
what you're saying. Yeah,
without an explanation,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
you've got no point of reference. So it could be
yeah,
one thing, it could be something else, it could be,
yeah.
but then
And,
you don't work your brain up to try to figure it out.
yeah, and I think inherent in abstraction is the fact that there's a little bit of a stress factor in viewing abstractions.
Right. I mean, if you were to ask me animal, mineral, or vegetable, I would probably say mineral of some sort, rather than
What
animal.
what did you mean by that, Ken? It's what?
I forgot what I said.
Oh, you said it's work, or it's kind of
Yes,
work to make it.
yes. Yeah, yeah, abstraction in itself requires more thought
Than just seeing something and moving
than seeing
along.
something that you literally know. Yeah,
Oh, you say, oh, it's a duck, and then
right.
you're off to the next picture. This one would make you stop and say, hmm,
Well, it depends on the complexity of the photograph, but still,
oh
I
yeah,
think an abstract, I think an abstract of anything is more complex inherently than something that's literal,
oh, okay, I
because
like
your
that.
visual senses are trying to make sense of something that is not automatically recognized.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's a bit of a tension going on in your head if you don't relate to an abstract piece. Hence, that's why I think many people who have a thing against abstract have a thing against it because it's not relative to literal.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a very good point. I like that a lot. Okay, okay, because I'm kind of like out there anyway. Don't tell anyone. So this kind of stuff intrigues me, but I could see someone, who's, okay, give it to me straight, just the facts, ma'am. This could really be an annoying puzzlement. So yeah, okay, all right. I can thank you, Ken. I appreciate that. That I can lock in on. Okay, all right. Next one. Speaking of odd things, I absolutely enjoyed this one. Now
Okay.
this is okay. I'll let you guys have at it. What are your thoughts on this?
I would say it's sunlight brands going through it's sunlight going through some sort of glass and showing up on the wall of a room.
Okay,
I get a sense of water.
okay. All right, go to the next one.
I think that all
Go
right.
ahead.
Okay, there's one more. Right. Okay. Okay, I still get it. I still get a sense of
Water.
water. I still
Okay,
get a sense of fish. And again, I'm not trying to figure out what it is. I'm
good.
going on what I emotionally feel when I see it.
Okay.
So fish.
Well, the other one does look like a
I
rainbow fish.
yeah,
That
I
was
feel
kind
like
of
fluid. I'm feel like fluid.
okay. Well, light is a fluid thing, isn't it? Is it frequency? No, no, or is that air? I forget.
No,
Okay.
electromagnetic spectrum.
Whoa. You're absolutely right, sir. Ding, 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 ding. Um, okay, go back to the one before this. Yeah, well, I like light, and it's like a lot of photographers discover, how the form looks when their model stands in front of blinds and the light puts
Yeah.
that, strips of light.
Yep.
I get a kick out of reflections and the way light changes when it passes through things. And of course, the prismatic refraction that light goes through when it passes through something and changes color.
Yep.
And I just love photography so much for being able to capture stuff, both the literal and for me the abstract. So get out there and shoot. And I'm wearing red for the Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl tomorrow. Go Chiefs! Unless the Buccaneers win, then I'm still wearing red. So go Bucks! All right, that's all I got.
Oh, like I said, that one looks like a fish, like you're cooking fish on one blue flame of a gas stove.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I guess that's why I feel water, because I get the feeling of
For the
looking at.
literal translation now. Okay. That's interesting. A piece of fish on a blue flame.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Done it. Give me a
Okay. We
second.
got.
I'll be right back. Let me
Yeah.
just. Hold on. I'll be right back.
Okay. Okay. Um, oh my goodness.
Check one, check two. All right. Somebody say something.
We here.
All right. Go ahead. I'm ready. Who's
Uh,
next?
Mark is next.
I think I'm next.
Yeah. Give me a second. Let me set it up.
It's okay.
Okay.
I think you'll see how incredibly difficult this particular uh, project was for me. Because quite honestly, I don't think these are necessarily abstractions as much as they are optical illusions. I mean, I think for me, if this were painted, this would be some sort of surrealist item rather than.
That was my whole point. Isn't photography an optical illusion?
Well, the original idea was to replicate life exactly, and they spent many decades trying to get that, and to a certain extent, we still do that. We also try to enhance it so that the final image looks
Without spending
better.
20 years learning how to paint.
Right. We want it to look better than life, but I think in this case, uh, it could be either a wall or a glass or a brick wall or a wooden wall or a glass. But I think we're all familiar enough with what that type of scene looks like, so that it really just becomes, oh, okay, there's a brick wall behind a wooden wall.
Well, yeah, okay, but I think that diagonal, whatever that is, I know what it is, but it changes the reference point. It makes it something different.
Right. I mean, that's the one thing that makes you say, oh, hey, what's going on here? Otherwise,
Yeah.
The chunks of shapes and color, the shadow is rich for me. That bright green. It's reminiscent of like an Edward Hopper's color. That New York tenement. Brick and greens and shadow, and this could be a piece of a Hopper for me.
okay. Well, you can go on to the next one if you like. And for me, it's more about some of these odd things. Once again, we have something else juxtaposed against the wall, but the pattern of the wall doesn't match the pattern of the sneakers. And if I were to change this into a black and white photograph, it would probably be abstracted much more easily, where your eye would sort of go from the left to the right, and you go, wait a minute, why is the brick awkward like that? And then you'd go back to the brick, and then you'd see that strange sort of leaf pattern. And then you'd realize, oh my goodness, those are actually sneaker soles. Those are the bottoms of sneakers.
Mhm.
Too. Yeah, but this introduces the idea of abstract perspective too, because unless you have a glass, piece of fiberglass or something that people can walk on, you don't normally see the soles of feet with a vertical, what you would consider. Your brain tells you a brick is either vertical or it's a walkway, but it's like the perspective, everything is out of kilter. So that abstraction is kind of cool to me.
Mm. I also think the notion of layering is used as an abstraction as well, because we know that these two items don't exist on the same plane. So therefore, we're being told that they are, but we're in our head we're convinced that no, they can't exist on the same plane. In color, and that's what I think Mark is getting at, which is if this were black and white, they would exist more in the same plane than they do in color, because they're two different colors. So therefore, they're associated with two different planes.
Um, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. You can go to the next one.
Okay.
I have a
And
shot like this with railroad tracks going into a patch of grass. But go
well,
ahead.
well, I just love the fact that it looks like a dorsal fin and it's like a shark. But I mean, that also requires, being able to imagine that gray represents the fraction of an image that we are all familiar with. And it also requires us to see that field of green and that amber in the back as a way of uh, expressing ocean. So I mean, it's abstract in some ways, but it's a very literal photograph of a road that just leads to a small point in the grass.
But on another level, it's kind of like a philosophical abstraction. Also, you could say, is nature overcoming, you know, society or civilization, where eventually it's going to overgrow that, or is it nature's, and because it's a wedge, almost a knife shape, that civilization is cutting into nature. That this it does lend itself towards social philosophical kind of a commentary also in its abstraction to me. But I kind of like different things.
Well, I just land shark was fun.
Land
That
shark.
was it. So going to
So
next.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. That's damn it.
There. Oh,
I
I
should have played that. I have
I'm
one other
sorry.
one that I really liked, but I
There you.
didn't
I'm
mention
sorry.
it.
oh, you can go to that one, no problem. And this one, I mean, I think we've seen so many, film noir at this point, where I think grown-ups will know what this is. At this point, kids know what this is because a lot of us have seen water through, a city scene through a windshield. So it's abstract in some ways. Like you said, they exist in different planes, but I think because of how our memory works, and because maybe if I flipped it upside down, it might not be so familiar. But I think it really does say uh, something very literal to us because visual literacy is so great. Previously, when these types of photographs weren't so uh, prevalent in culture, uh, it would be sort of shocking to see this view, and people would kind of wonder, "Wow, this is vaguely familiar," but I'm not. Oh, wait. They'd say, "Hey, that's through the windshield." So that's really about it.
Okay.
A little face. Ooh, never mind. Go ahead.
Okay. And this one is probably the closest to abstract, but I'm sure you guys can guess what this is.
I,
I'm not even going to guess.
it looks like South America and Africa.
Yeah, right. It's a corroded door, basically. It's a part of it. I was walking around today and I saw a door that was corroded and said, "Oh wow, it's interesting shapes that they make." And as an abstraction, it's okay. And so I photographed it, and the streaks of the metal. I guess that's either steel or aluminum, um, probably aluminum or whatever it is. The parallel lines from the extrusion of the metal versus whatever that corrosion is gives you these odd amorphous shapes. And then, we can texturalize it by putting it in the rectangular frame. But otherwise, it's okay. But to me, it seems like a detail of something. And so the idea of an abstract photograph, for me, this would be a detail from a technical manual. So I know that I personally have a very difficult time with photographing abstractions and then later seeing them as abstractions.
Okay. Yeah, because I have no ability to see this as anything literal at all. The closest thing that comes to mind is Earth and the relationship to what this might represent on Earth, being some form of uh, um, product of one of the elements on the chart. And that's as far as I get. If I were to,
You mean the periodic
the
table?
periodic table, thank you. One of the elements in the
Wow.
periodic table. Cobalt, magnesium, whatever. It could be one of those
Okay.
things. So
Mineral,
that
see,
and
that's
that yeah.
mineral or vegetable. I think with the shark fin looking photograph, it's a mineral and a vegetable that look like animal.
Yeah. Well,
Unobtainium.
right. But seeing it's funny because
Unobtainium.
as we go through things, to me the most literal image that you've submitted was that the fin one. To me, everything else is to me more abstract than that one. That one to me, because the preponderance of the green and my association with that green in that perspective, just I cannot take myself out of grass.
Huh.
Got it. Because you see that lawn, you know exactly what that is.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to pull yourself out of that. Yep.
Right, which makes me that way when Greg speaks to what he sees in it, I cannot relate, and I have a hard time believing what he's saying is true.
Wow. Okay, no, that's fair.
No, I appreciated the effort, but yeah.
Uh,
I enjoy it just as it is. I don't.
yeah,
You, Mark, telling me what it is, it kind of detracts from what it
yeah,
could be.
yeah, yeah.
Abstracts to me is about possibilities, and to say, oh, it's this. Like some photographers insist on putting a title underneath their picture, and
Hmm.
when they do that, for me, it limits the image. Now, this, I mean, I could, maybe it's my split personalities or whatever, but I could see a whole bunch of things in this,
Yeah,
and they're all possibly wrong, but they're all possibly right. And I like the idea of possibilities rather than definitive, certainties in
Right.
what it is.
And
yeah.
I see them as compositional studies that are, that lend themselves to the imagination.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the whole, I wouldn't say the whole purpose of art, but for growing in art and your craft, you start with compositional exercises.
Right.
That's Foundation 101. We went through 2 years of that.
I agree.
And until you can, visually, or hone your craft so you can do what it is that you want to do with it. But I wouldn't say it's illegitimate because it's not easily identifiable or because it is one specific thing that looks like something else. I enjoy it just because it's, I like,
Okay, let me
the
let me
shapes
let
and the tone. And I got another question for you. Why did you do it in black and white? Because I'm sure it wasn't like that in nature, was it?
This, yeah, it is.
That was the actual colors of the thing?
Yeah, if you look closely, you'll see in the center, it's slightly bluish, and if you look to the right a little bit of that splotch in the middle, it's a little redder, a little warmer.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
It's kind of a cyan orange shift, kind of going from the top of this to the bottom. Not yet, not so much throughout the entire image, but only in the lighter areas.
Okay. I didn't really see that, but okay. All right. I got nothing else.
Okay.
But I'm learning a lot. You guys are teaching me quite a bit. Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I mean, it's challenging for me. So, the ease with which you can execute these types of photographs and accept them, I'm very impressed with.
Okay. That's cool. That's it's teaching me a lot about you guys and this visual medium. Thank you.
Okay, so I guess it's up to
And
me next.
you're up.
Okay, that's you. Okay, so we'll start off with this.
Ooh, that's tickling my eye bone.
Oh, I can tell what that is, though.
Here, I
Yeah,
just like the shapes.
but if you've never seen it, never
Right.
right, it's and even to me, it's doesn't represent what it was when I saw it. So
It's pretty good. I would. That's
Of
something.
abstraction.
It's good. I'm not.
mm. So I really enjoyed this, and when I go out and photograph, I'm not looking. Well, it depends on where I'm going. If I'm in a place that doesn't have many people, then I'm looking for different things. If I'm in a place with has a lot of people, then I'm usually focused on photographing the people. But it's not that I'm taking my eye off of anything else. On this day, there were not that many people around, but so my focus was a little more attentive to things that were not laid with people. So.
You know what? The one element that really solidifies the reality of this is that slither of blue sky, about a third of the way from the left to the right.
A what? A what? I'm
It
sorry.
looks like a slither of blue sky or whatever that.
There is no sky in this thing.
All right. Well, whatever that blue element is, it's in color as the sky, and so it gives me a reference point that looks like it's uh, sky somewhere, and then from
Okay.
there, I build the other elements in my head into what would be in a cityscape.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
But that's part of the abstraction.
That's part of the
He saw
yeah.
blue
You saw.
and
Yeah.
believed it was
Yeah.
sky.
And I should apologize. I shouldn't have corrected you on it, but I just wanted to make sure that there is nothing relative to sky in there. At least what we would perceive as sky.
Right.
It's sky.
But but I'm glad.
But if you like sky, that's good.
But what I'm saying is, what it reads as sky.
Yeah.
If you are seeing a small portion of it.
Yeah. But I think there's certain elements in there that are so really great because you don't know if you're looking at depth or if you don't know if you're looking at flat.
Right.
Okay. And those are the things, right? So that's the confusing and that's the quandary. Are you looking at something of depth or not? And you don't know. And I think that's so cool about it.
Yeah. Perception is reality. Is it? Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
That gray part looks like the jaw of a giant robot.
Okay. I'm glad you're taking it there. The less little you are, the better for me. That's cool. Okay. I mean,
the storm fence is a giveaway, sure, but I like the repetition of the lines and the diagonals and the patches of color, and the black adds depth to it. I really enjoy this. My eye is like having a field day in that.
Before I could see the fencing and the slats in between, I was like, what is that? Oh, I get it. So.
Yeah, and I think let's go to the next one. Let me see, because I think everything else is pretty much literal, or close to literal.
Some color swaps,
but
shadow.
But literal in the sense that
it's sharp.
It's sharp, but figurative in the sense that what is it? If we in fact need to know what it is. Yeah, could be. Right. And right. So how far do you go to make the relationship to reality as a viewer?
Well, I mean, I guess
Mark has stated that.
Huh?
You stated that already because you're trying to figure out where in the world it is.
Right.
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 So you're going from in and you're trying to pull out to see the whole picture.
Right. But at the same time, I mean, I guess what most people wind up doing is they wind up cutting away until the abstraction appears.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Until yeah. Yep. Okay. And I think let's what do we got next? We got here.
Ooh. See, things like this, I really don't even want to know what it is. I almost wish that you had like put a Photoshop filter or blurred it so that I couldn't identify anything in the real world, Neo.
Okay.
I
Well,
like that.
yeah. Well, yeah, and I think what level of abstraction is needed to make it abstract is, and I don't even know if that's actual
See,
a
I
great point of logic.
I don't know.
Yeah, it is.
There are a lot of things in the cities. I think black and white helps with 90% of what we've done here, because I think the color gives us so much more information
Uh-huh.
that I think for the three of us, we go, oh, I know what that is. I know what that is. I know what that is. For the most of it. And I
Right.
think, but we may not know exactly where something is, but where we get close approximations, you know.
Right. Yeah. But there's some things that confuse that
Right.
to be the case.
True. True.
Right. Because when you see something, you usually don't see this associated with that. Greg's like, what the hell is he talking about?
I know where you guys go with this kind of stuff, and I'm enjoying the shapes and patterns and
Yeah,
splotches of color
that's a
without, huh?
yes, yes, great. Thank
Great.
you. Good.
It's very pretty. What's your problem?
I mean, not just pretty. I mean, just my eye is just going through all the patterns and shapes, and
Yeah,
it's not. I
yeah,
mean, it's a
and
technical. It could be a technical photo, but it's I don't try to put a literal boundary on it.
mhm,
And then also, I mean, that's for me, for my head, the creative side, or is that left brain or right brain? But the creative side of my head really, really is enjoying it, and it's telling my technical side to shut up and take a seat. Just let me
mhm,
enjoy this before you make it literal. Because once I get like laser focus on what it is actually, it puts my creative side to sleep. So I try to make that connection so that they're both operating. And
yeah,
what you said was really profound to me. And when you said, well, what level of um, I don't know if you said distortion or what level of uh, whatever
right,
that's not makes it an abstraction.
right. What level
What
of
level?
abstraction makes it abstract?
Right. Yeah.
How
I
far
like
away
that.
does it take you from the literal world
Right.
before you convinced that it's no longer, or that it could not, that it could possibly be not of the literal world?
Right.
I think it has to do with the lack of recognition. I mean, you have to be able to look at the photograph, and there has to be a low amount of recognition for the viewer.
See,
Right.
okay.
For the
I, I
viewer,
got I got a
I think
question,
that's a
Ken.
key factor.
Go ahead. For the viewer,
Because I
it's
think
it's
I
what the
think
viewer sees.
I think that for someone who doesn't have any relationship to what, where, or what you photograph, then the abstraction is as abstract as it can get because they have no relationship to it. If you've walked past the Chrysler building and took a piece of it, everyone would recognize it as the Chrysler building because almost everybody says past it. There are places in the world where not everybody has gone, or where not everyone has paid attention to every nook and cranny of a detail. So if you pass a place that has a unique thing to it, and that has making that make that light brings a different sensibility to it, then you could probably abstract that to a point where someone who has passed it is no longer familiar with it because they don't see it in that way. And I think that's why I like to use shadow as much to sort of increase the level of abstraction because it makes less of the identifiable parts.
Well, I mean, I know in this photo
Yeah,
the
yeah,
layering of the shadows between the soft but very deep shadow that's encroaching on the very light but yet sharply delineated shadow it's it's right in there. That's the best part of all of anything that's going on there is that space there.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, because you got so much darkness in the frame. It occupies maybe about half of it. So, what is one to literally say about darkness in and of itself? So, yeah. Greg, I'm sorry, you were saying something. I cut you off.
Uh, mm, I mean, perception, even like your closeness series, like your street shots in Manhattan, where it's just like
Yeah,
people layered on people.
right.
You know, I mean, perceptually, I know I'm stretching it. That's a visual abstraction because there's like a whole bunch of people
Yes,
who never see that many people in
right,
that small a space.
right.
So I mean, perceptually, that's kind of a stretch, but I mean, a social abstraction
No, but
in
I
a way.
think that's what attracts me to it, is that you can make an abstraction with life itself and with moving parts.
Hmm.
With things that are continually in motion. I think I love doing that. And when I come back home and I edit and I look at things and I'm like, wow, that's really way out there. And I know what the literal thing is, but the figurative thing that comes out of it can be an abstract. It's like, okay, yeah, I can do that.
So it's something that you can't identify. Would you say that something that you cannot identify is just as legitimate as something that you can identify?
In terms of it being an abstract,
Sure.
well, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a quandary. It's like what yeah. Um, yeah. Well, again, it depends on your frame of mind, right? So it depends on how much I need to know the literal world within the frame.
Does not compute. Does not compute. Does not. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry.
No, I mean
Okay.
you have to settle for the abstraction as an abstract and not deal with it, not worry about it.
Right.
In order for you to settle, in order for me to settle down and say, okay, I'm done,
Okay. Okay. That's legit.
or else I won't get any sleep at night.
There you go. You get into a logic loop and your brain will break. I don't want to break your brain.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
that's all I got.
Okay. I was going to also say one last thing is that with abstractions, I mentioned Piet Mondrian earlier. I think
Mhm.
the artists who did the most abstractions wound up doing were series of abstractions. They, examined the idea that they were working with, not just with one or two images like we've done with one image or two images here with this small sample, but
Uh-huh.
they've done, 4, 5, 7, 29 paintings, just working with that same idea, to really explore all the possibilities. And,
113.
and again, photographically, it would be, a particular shadow or a particular quality of light or a particular subject, the way the light's falling there, or the way, whatever it is,
Uh-huh.
you explore all the compositional and photographic possibilities with that subject, uh, trying to create more abstract images with the same subject over and over again. I think that's the real exercise.
Okay, so let me bring this into this. Let me bring
Interesting
this into
point.
the
Okay.
conversation. I'm going to show you a piece of art and try not to read the description of the art, but just tell me what your thoughts are and what you remember it.
Cubism,
Oh,
Picasso.
that's Deschamps. I know what that is.
No?
You descending a staircase.
Right. Right. So I just wanted to bring this in because I think it's sort of interesting as we speak about painting versus photography and how the differences and how they're seen in terms of just being abstract. Because then you have to bring in to some degree, I guess you have to bring in the mindset of the artist and sort of say, okay, because gosh, then you, oh man, never
Well,
mind. I'm gonna go off on a tangent.
you have to be visually astute enough to recognize the abstractions of each of the shapes of
Right.
what one would look
Yeah.
like walking down a staircase at different intervals of time.
Uh-huh.
You know, then what all those different intervals of time would look like spliced together. Um, and you see the figure at the bottom of the stairwell, and then you see them in the middle, and you see them at the top. But you have to accept that two triangles represent a calf muscle,
Yeah.
and shaded is where the shadow area is, and one that's not the part. The other triangle that's not shaded is where the light is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And all through the figure, you have to you have to be able to recognize all those shapes.
Yeah. Greg, you look confused or just questioning.
I've always enjoyed this image, but just the well, you could almost say this is a sketch, but it's a kind of a masterwork that he decided to abstract the shapes and make it into the forms that it is. It's a fun thing for the eye.
Right,
Right.
right.
Um,
But
And
I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm from Ken, you would know because you know the history of photography a little better than I do. Uh, this is post Muybridge, is it not?
this is pre-Muybridge.
Pre Muybridge.
on
Yeah.
Ken,
Are you
Yeah.
sure? Okay.
Moivers.
Muybridge this is 1900s, early 1900s. I think Muybridge was a little bit later.
Okay.
Let
Okay.
me research that and get back.
Okay.
EDWARD
Yeah, maybe you're
Okay, so what you we brought this up for a reason. What was your
This
rationale
is pre, yeah.
before we get
Basically, it's after Muybridge. If at least Muybridge is up
in
until
in that same
uh,
realm, right?
yeah, in the same realm.
Right.
Um, yeah, yeah, Muybridge can be of the same realm. Um, I can see. I guess I can see where Mark is going with this, uh, because I think you sort of have to put yourself in where he put himself in. Was that he was not only showing a moment in time, he was showing all the moments in time for someone descending a staircase.
Right.
Right, where that in itself is not, you can't do that literally, or you
Right.
can do it in the advent of stereoscopic, what is it, stroboscopic imagery.
Right. I mean,
okay,
before those Life magazine photos of the golfer and the bullet going through
and the horse.
and all
Yeah.
that. But it is the horse. It's the Moira. It's same time. I mean, it's an extrapolation of the idea that the camera obscura and the photograph can be used to create reference material for painters. I mean, that's a very old idea from the 1700s all the way through to the 1900s. But, I would imagine after seeing these wonderful new technological miracles of being able to see a man running or a horse running and see in successive sequential frames, excuse me, how their figures have changed when they're in motion. I'm sure that got a lot of painters thinking about, what is motion rather than static images and portraiture.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I guessed. I wasn't sure, but I think I had a feeling that it's either around the same time as the Muybridge photos or just after the Muybridge photos, because I would imagine painters who are as avant-garde as Duchamp would look at all the art forms that are coming up.
But
We can do that.
even that reinforces my point about the importance of abstraction, the importance of abstract thought, to be able to see something and then to see it differently and then build on the possibility rather than the literal, and I don't want to get like, since y'all are picking name dropping and stuff. There was some dude of fairly well report said that imagination is more important than fact. So that's where I'm going with that. It's just a dude. It was, he came up with some relative theory, not going to drop any names.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Uh,
Just saying.
yeah. Okay. Woo. All right, guys. So what are you thinking? We've
Hey,
pushed our brain to the limit tonight.
I think we can wrap this one up.
Yeah. Please do, Greg.
Oh man, I think we should do this again because it was so difficult for y'all. Anyway, that's gonna wrap it for Abstraction 101. We'll probably be doing part two. Probably not to their liking, but someday we might do a part two. I'm Greg Claiborne. That's Mark Skinner. That's Kenny Nelson. I'm not sure where they are, but and we are the Three Pratt Grads. I'm gonna wrap this up and say, go Chiefs. Red for the Chiefs. Unless the Bucks win, go Bucks. Super Bowl tomorrow. Black History Month. Keep it pushing and keep taking pictures, folks. Have a good time.
Good night.